Well, good evening and welcome to About the Valley. Here we are right in the middle of the
Hello.
valley. You like the Blackstone River?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And Kris Koliss is my guest tonight. Kris is from Paramount Realty
Yes.
in Grafton, actually North Grafton.
Yep.
And we're going to talk real estate because one thing that's hot in the valley right now is real estate.
It is. Yep.
And being a realtor, I'm sure Kris would love to have more properties available, but
Yeah.
they're just not. That's
Yes,
one of
because
the
there's
problems right now, isn't it? There's not a lot of product out there.
right. Yes. So the supply is definitely not meeting the demand,
Yeah,
and there are first-time home buyers, people that want to move up, who are ready to sell their house because they have equity, but their question to their realtor is, "Where am I going to go?"
yeah.
So unless they
You
have
can't
interim
find a house to
housing,
move into.
correct. Yeah. So it is a great time to buy because the rates are so low. You just have to be really diligent and have someone helping you find a house,
Right.
and a property that's good for you.
Yeah, it's a great time to buy, but be prepared to pay because
Yes.
it's a seller's market.
It is definitely a seller's market. I think it will be a seller's market at least through the election. Um, Sometimes during election years, it does get a little slow, especially when it's a presidential election.
Yeah, because people don't know what's going to happen.
Correct. So before November, if someone is thinking of selling this year, I would definitely take advantage of the seller's market. And I always tell my sellers, sometimes if you want top dollar, you need to find interim housing, whether that's finding an apartment short term or moving in with a family member or something like that. But it is going to definitely be a good year to capitalize on the market if you're a seller.
Yeah. Well, we were talking how in the Worcester Business Journal they had an article about how over 55 housing is becoming the new trend in the area. And I'm big on the planning board. I'm familiar with that. We have an over 55 proposal here in Northbridge.
Yeah.
For over 100 units. And if you can get, if you're looking to drop down a little bit, and a lot of people get to a point, hey, I don't want to cut the lawn anymore, or getting too old for this, or we want to travel. So you're looking for a condo or something of that nature. This is perfect. And then that opens up that market, their house,
Correct.
in a lot of cases, a starter home.
Yes.
Yeah, because they may
Because
never
those people
moved
have
up.
been in their house, a lot of those people have been in their house for 30, 40, 50 years. And perhaps it's, a smaller ranch or a smaller cape or in that price range of a first-time home buyer.
Yeah, so it makes it possible for the new buyer, the young couple, to come in and make it affordable.
Yes. And so that's great. Where there's new construction coming into Northbridge, it's going to open up a lot more properties, I think, for the buyers out there.
Yes. I know any new single-family housing now, there's nothing under 500, half a million.
It is, well, the problem with that is, right, the materials have gone up, every year. The pricing for your lumber, for your sheetrock, everything, and labor has gone up.
Yeah, yeah. But they're not building the three-bedroom ranch. They're building the 4 to 6 bedroom colonials.
Right, yes,
So they're building the bigger house,
yes.
even though, whether there's demand for it or not.
Correct, and a lot of times there is the demand because people are moving further west.
Yes.
They'll do the travel to Boston because their money will buy them more the further west they go.
You got a record here. You got a call almost immediately. We never had happened so
Oh.
quick. Go ahead, Carl. You're on.
Hello.
Yeah, you're on.
Okay. Good evening, and thanks for taking my call, Harry.
Okay, Barry.
The question I have tonight whether you can shed some light on it, is something that a lot of people have on their minds, is property tax rates.
Oh, we were just talking about that.
I don't know if my general assumption is correct, but you hear a lot, like especially in our town, we have a low property tax rate. But I think what happens is though you still have to have the property valuation increase to support a 2.5% increase in the general fund or the general revenue of the of the town budget. Because I mean, I don't believe there's not too many town budgets in the Commonwealth that doesn't go up 2.5% a year. So even though a municipality may have a low property tax rate, they still have to make up that 2.5% increase in their town budget. Would that be a correct understanding of that? I just want if I can get you some feedback on that.
Well, they're allowed 2.5% plus growth.
Right.
So it comes out to around 3%.
Right. So.
But Kris will tell you about their situation in Grafton now.
Oh.
They actually based their budget on more than what they were gonna collect, because they anticipated at UPS coming into Grafton.
Oh.
And they didn't come in, and they used that. They didn't set the tax rate for that, but they set the budget for it.
Uh-huh.
So their
So
budget,
they raised the assessments.
Yeah.
My assessment went up, probably $70,000, and my taxes, I just told Harry my taxes went up $1,200 for the year.
Wow. 'Cause
Yes.
and that's without any new building. That
Right.
We got a new school.
Uh-huh.
Their police station was along a few years back.
Right.
And they're doing a DPW garage.
And I thought the library, but that might
But
be
now
a
they
separate.
got in Grafton. Didn't they get the DPW land for free?
I don't know.
I
think
don't know about that either.
It's built on Turnpike property.
Yeah, well, it's right next to the turnpike, so it could have been turnpike property.
Right. That the state transferred to the town.
Right, yeah, because the amount of property that the turnpike owns goes well beyond the boundaries of the turnpike.
Yeah. Because what I try to bring up is, like, I know communities down the Cape and I know communities out in the Berkshires, they have a low property tax rate, but their valuation is higher to meet that, like you said, that 2.5% increase in the general growth as you stated. So even though a town may have a low property tax rate, it still has to generate the funding scheme for that 2.5% increase in growth. Is that a correct assumption, Harry?
Well, yeah, well, what they can do, but they can only go so far with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, assessments are set according to what the market is, and
Right.
Kris being a realtor can tell you that.
Well, no, because one of my agents used to work at an assessor's office. My understanding is they use history 2 years back,
Yeah,
which
based on what it sold for.
2 years ago.
Right. But I'm saying they still use the market, not the current market, but
Right. And they have their own evaluation system that they use.
right. That's why your house on your taxes will show a price, but it's a lot less than what you would probably sell it for.
Right, but you still have to go by what that total property tax bill is, and the towns are going to assess for that 2.5% growth.
Right.
And everything else.
Right. Well, that they try to assess for as much as they can.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, in the case of Grafton, they put the budget $1 million higher than what they could get.
Mm-hmm.
So now they have $1 million shortfall.
So now what do they have to do? Call another special town meeting to?
No, they have to do an override.
Oh, okay. All right.
You're going to make up that $1 million.
Or what they're doing, because the thing with the assessed value is my house is currently assessed at a price that I know I could not get.
Uh-huh.
And I
Right.
know another gentleman in town came into my office and they reassessed his property $125,000 higher, and I know he could not get that price.
See, I don't know how they can get away with that. I think you can appeal that.
Right, you got to. I think don't you have to request an abatement or something?
Yes,
Well,
it's
an
very
appeal.
hard to get an abatement
Mhm.
because once they set that, they're not really going to do a take back.
Right.
So you have to go up and talk to them. But again, they have their own valuation system.
Mhm.
You know, just like a realtor, we have our valuation
Right.
system. I don't know how that could differ because we should all be looking at the same data, but
Well, yeah, I mean,
I'm not an assessor.
the
so I
value of your
can't.
house should be what you can sell it for.
Right.
I mean, it's like anything else you sell. I mean, value of your car is what you can sell it for. regardless of what, the year of it.
Right. It's the blue book value, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
but I'm sure you're hearing a lot of people are surprised with their tax bills in town, Harry.
What do you mean? Why should
Saying with the tax bills that just came out, a lot of people,
Oh, yeah.
they saw them go up significantly.
Oh, yeah, that's why it's gonna hurt them to get a fire station now.
Mhm.
Because we got hit with the school,
Right, right,
and it averaged about $100 a month on the bills, right?
right. And now they're talking maybe water and sewer rates going up also.
Yeah, well, that, here again, I don't know about the sewer. The water, well, that's controlled by the water company,
Mhm.
which is an independent company here.
Right. But then
And
usually
Grafton as
the
well.
town
Yes.
follows once the private company raises its rates.
Right.
And yeah. Now the last question. Harry. Now we're hearing a lot about this Community Preservation Act,
Yeah.
and I guess they can use funds to buy land in a town for open space.
Well, yeah, if it becomes available.
Right. So now, if the town buys land for open space, doesn't it take that land off the property tax roll?
Well, yeah, if the town buys it, it's not on tax rolls any longer.
Right. So now, how does the town have to make up for that loss? Do they increase the tax
Well,
on the people paying property taxes?
In most cases, when town buys property like that, it's already under the Agriculture Act, so it's not drawing that much money anyway.
Hmm. But there's still going to be a loss of revenue, right?
Well, yeah, but in other cases too, I know when they do a major housing development, and there's open space, and open space gets deeded over to the town, right?
Hmm.
But during the whole process, they built 40, 50 houses,
Right.
which are now going to be assessed.
Right.
But then again, when you build houses, you also bring children in, and that's a burden on the school system, and is a burden on the police department, the fire
Right.
department.
Everything, all the town
Yeah,
services.
see, so, for housing, you really is no gain.
Right.
So.
Saying like say if the town bought 20 acres of open space under the CPA Act, I mean that's still going to be money that whatever they're getting, the town's getting.
Yeah, but the
tax-
20 acres,
that money.
you're not gonna see that much revenue coming in from 20 acres.
Oh, okay.
It's very unlikely, because it's gonna be more or less either wooded or fields. It's not, what's the value of it? It's like I said, if it's under the agriculture exemption, it's paying very little.
Hmm.
And-
So the CPA group would have to review that, and hopefully they would,
Well, no, they wouldn't have to review that. That would be reviewed by, they make the recommendation. It's up to the town if they want to buy it.
right, because it would have to go to town meeting, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But what you might look at, if you've got a 50-acre tract,
Hmm.
it's not paying that much revenues anyway. Someone came in and developed it. It could be a higher cost to you to pay for all the people that are going to come in.
Right.
See, so you can gain that in that respect too.
Right.
Or let's say the town needs more space for a school or a fire station, whatever, anything.
Right.
If the town owns the property,
it would
it's a
apply
lot
to
cheaper.
land that's not developable.
Right.
Okay.
Well, all land's developable,
Well,
unless it's a lake.
Sometimes there's things that are on it that make it not developable.
Well, the ways around everything, and you'll find. I mean, I'm seeing building houses now where I thought they'd never build a house.
Oh yeah, but there's a cost too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But there again, Kris will tell you, when there's nothing available, it becomes worthwhile.
Right.
You can't create more land.
Right.
So when you start getting tight for land, the land that's left becomes valuable because, hey, you gotta build it somewhere.
Yeah. I know. I have a feeling after people got their tax bills, they're going to be looking at a lot of things more closely now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'll let somebody else call in, and
All
thank
right.
you very much, and a very nice, interesting show.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, right.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. I mean, people don't want to pay more. I don't want to pay more taxes. Who the hell wants to? Unfortunately, it's a reality that we have to face.
Right.
But you know, your town manager says, well, people in Grafton can afford it if they make $80,000. I bet he makes well over that.
Yeah, I'm not
Most
sure.
most town managers are going to be in the 3 digits.
Yep.
6 digits. I
6
should
digits,
say.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they're going to be over 100 grand.
Yeah. Yeah, it was quite a hike, quite a surprise to me when I got my bill. And I don't mind paying taxes, but like you said, if I know I can't sell my house for what it's assessed at,
Yeah.
and it wasn't,
Yeah.
I couldn't have sold it 2 years ago at that price either,
Right.
then that's where I have a problem.
Yeah, well, you should be paying an assessment on something you can't get.
Correct.
It's like paying income tax on income you didn't get.
Right, exactly.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But here again, and I knew that was going to come to a head in Grafton because they were doing so much building.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're going to have a problem here. You have to move along conservatively.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is what you end up with.
Right.
But some of these towns are facing problems due to the fact that they're growing so fast.
That's it. That's it. And that's why I always say that towns really need to be flexible and more open with regards to zoning, with regards to planning and things like that, as well as accessory apartments, you know?
Yeah.
I really think, you know, people are living longer. Cost of living is only going up. And I think more families will be merging.
Yeah.
So they really have to be open to accessory apartments, whether it's for an older parent or whether it's for an adult child that, you know, has to come home for whatever reason.
That when I was a kid, it was quite common to have grandparents. I'm talking a couple, married couple, living with the children's family,
Yeah.
and they shared an apartment in many cases.
And I think that's coming back around. In a lot of
Yes.
cultures, it's very common.
Yeah.
But I think in the next decade, a lot of people are going to be forced due to the cost of living and people on a fixed income. You know, if their cost of living is increasing with the expenses that they have to pay,
Yeah.
there's going to be an issue.
Yeah, especially, you know, people living longer.
Yeah.
And you get a situation where a young couple today, you both have to work to be able to keep a standard of living that they want. So.
And it's so expensive to have kids.
Yeah. Wasn't it great to have a babysitter built right in?
Yeah.
Help you out.
That saves a lot. Yeah, that saves a lot of money for people. Daycare, I hear, is just an exorbitant cost.
Oh my God! You know how
for
people
families,
can afford it. It's almost like having it's like having a job.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's not worth it
Yeah.
too, for the mother to go back to work or the father.
Right.
Because if you have 2 children in daycare and it's costing you $600 to $1,000 a month,
Yeah,
It's a lot
it's
of money.
worth working.
right?
But and what they're looking to do is probably turn their private home into with an in-law apartment,
Correct.
so that you know you still have some privacy, you still have some separation,
Right.
but
The towns have to be open to it,
Yeah.
because a lot of them, you know, are not, and they have to realize that the population is not getting smaller.
right.
It's just not.
But one thing, like Grafton, you're right next to Westboro,
Yes.
which is built out pretty much.
Mhm.
So you're getting the overflow now.
Mhm.
And you're getting the overflow of the buyer in Westboro who's willing to pay, you know, almost $1 million for their homes.
Mhm. Right. Westboro, Northboro,
Yeah,
Southboro. That's all Worcester County.
yeah.
A lot of people don't realize Southboro's Worcester County, and
Yeah,
I think the average sales price there is like 800,000.
it's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, but Southborough's in a good commuter location, right? You're right
Yeah.
on 9.
Oh.
You're further east
MBTA
towards
right
Boston.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah, easy. That's another thing that Grafton's got now. You got the MBT, and
the
you can
train,
see how
and it's crowded all the time.
parking lot is always filled. They need a
Yes.
bigger parking lot.
I know. Yeah, it's very, very, very popular, and for people not just who live in Grafton either. people are coming from, I think, all the surrounding towns.
Oh, yeah.
To catch
Oh,
the
I
train.
know we got people from Norwich that commute through
Mhm.
there. And the thing is, if you drive into Boston and you gotta park your car for the day, it's gonna
Forget it.
cost you so much money that it just doesn't pay.
Yep.
So that's where the MBTA comes
Yes.
in.
Yep, and it's hard to carpool. You know, people say, "Oh, carpool." You know, people get out of work different hours.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's got the same schedule.
Right.
You know, with somebody else that probably is local to them,
And you
so
might
it
work
could be difficult.
in different spots.
Right?
So now you gotta be able to get together
Yeah.
and, oh my God, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, it can be for sure. So the train is definitely appealing to people.
But we were talking earlier about how, young people wanna live in the city,
Right?
but God, that's getting to be prohibitive too.
Yes, very expensive. And you just talked about the parking space that was sold.
Yeah, in Boston for over $550,000, over $500,000 to
crazy.
park a car.
It's crazy.
Oh
Imagine
my-
what they're making a year if that's what they paid for their spot.
I know. I mean, this is buying a house. This is unbelievable.
Unless maybe they bought it like a stock and they expect it to go up in the next 10 years, which it very well
Well,
could.
people have done that.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, the parking garages are getting outrageous prices.
Yes.
$40, $50 a day.
Yeah. Very expensive.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
I know someone, you go to a ball game in Boston, forget it, you can't find a place to
Yeah.
park. And if you do find a place, they're gonna charge you $100 to park your car for
Yeah.
the ball game.
Yeah, when I went in with my friend, we took the train. It was perfect.
Yeah, the way you gotta do it.
We grabbed the train in Boston, in Grafton,
Yeah,
and got dropped off right near the park.
right in Kenmore Square.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know they dropped, I thought you had to go into South Station, no.
No, there's a closer, there might even be a Fenway stop, but it was very close to the park, to Fenway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, wow, that's pretty good.
yeah,
Keep that in mind. I'll be going to Polo
definitely.
Park.
You what? Oh,
But, yeah, I mean, I can't believe what they're getting for rent, and Worcester's the same way.
crazy
And
rents.
they're building a lot of apartments.
I have a client, they're buying a 3-family, and I don't property manage, so I said, I recommended a property manager to them. And the property manager said to them, for an apartment that is all redone, like, updated, like nice cabinets, and
Right.
for a 2-bedroom, they're getting $1,500 to $1,600 a month.
For 2 bedroom.
Yes.
Oh, my God, that is.
I know, when she told me that, I was like, wow, that seems high, but,
But then again, if you go out and buy a house for $300,000, which is not a big house,
no,
and more or less a starter home,
yes.
you're gonna pay anywhere near that, more than that probably.
Yes. Used to be, you could find a really nice home for $240,000, $250,000, and it is difficult with the inventory being so low, finding a house in that price range. And then when they do and they go look at it, a lot of buyers are surprised because they're like, "This is what I'm going to get for $240,000, $250,000," and I have to look at them and go, "Yeah, this is the market."
And then add to that, the taxes you're gonna pay,
Right.
because it's gonna be assessed at
Right.
that price.
But then at the end of the day, the flip side is if you're getting a rate under 4%, you can't beat that.
Well, that's a big factor now.
Right.
I mean, there's some mortgages down to, what, 2.5% in some cases?
Like for a 15-year maybe.
Yeah,
But your standard 30 is, you can get under 4 for
yeah,
a 30-year fixed.
yeah, which is, God, I remember when mortgage rates were up in
Right.
double digits.
But look at how the prices have changed, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's why. So when the rates go down, that drives the buyers out,
right,
and that
drives the
affect-
price
the
up.
price up because there's not enough to supply
Oh,
to the buyers.
that is unbelievable.
I know it.
Yeah, it's a tough market for you because when the interest rate goes down and it brings down your monthly payment, the price goes up, so now you're back up again anyway.
Yeah.
The only good thing about that is at least when you buy it and the house is worth more, at least you got more equity.
Correct. Yes. Yes. And when you're paying rent, you're paying somebody else.
Right, you got
At least
no
when
equity.
you're paying your mortgage, you're paying your own property off.
Yes,
So even if you don't have a huge amount of equity when you first buy a house. Say you do a no money down program like a USDA
Yep.
or a VA, or you do an FHA with 3.5% down. You might not have a lot of equity, but when you're paying your mortgage, you're paying yourself. You're
Right.
paying your liability down. So that's the
Now,
benefit.
Another good way to go would be to buy a 3-family, right?
A 2 or 3 family, so
Yeah.
people are definitely owner occupied 2 or 3 families.
And then you get the rent to help pay your mortgage.
Correct.
If not pay the whole thing.
Exactly, yeah. I sold a house in the fall. My clients today actually bought VA loan, a 3-unit, to live in one of the units. In the fall, same thing. Because what's happening is that's driving the price up. Because for a 3-family, it's worth it for an owner occupied to pay $350 to $400,
Yeah,
as opposed to an investor. The numbers might not work there, but an owner occupant, they're getting 2 mortgages, so
Yeah.
maybe they have to pay $500 a month.
yeah, and they're gonna have to pay to live somewhere.
That's it.
So they absorb the difference. What the heck? I mean, I gotta pay rent. I either gotta pay rent or pay a mortgage.
Right. And on a 3-family, you have an asset where you could live there 2 or 3 years, and then guess what? You refinance that, and you go find a single family,
Right.
and you have a nice 3-family in your retirement portfolio.
And the thing is, too, if you're living in it, you're keeping better control over it.
1,000%, for sure.
Yeah. If you're an investor,
Yep.
you might have a property manager, but who knows what's going on in
Yeah.
your property.
Right.
And people tend to move in and out. They move in and out too because it doesn't. It's not the same. If you're renting yourself, you're gonna be careful who you move in.
Yeah.
And you probably be friendlier with them, and they're willing to stay.
Right.
But I see that they're finding too in the article I read that people aren't selling their 3-families anymore.
Oh, because the rents are so high.
Yeah, they're holding on to them. So they're not. The market's not there. They're not available.
Nope.
And
There's,
one
like,
time, God, they were all over Worcester.
all over. Now there's 22 in Worcester. Just 22 multifamilies.
22 in the whole city.
In the entire city.
It's oh,
Yep. It is.
Oh.
It's crazy. But like I had said, if their rents are going up per unit $200 to $300 a month, their cash flow's going up
Yeah.
$600 to $900 a month,
right.
which is almost 10,000. It could be over $10,000 a year. That's a nice chunk of change. So
Yeah.
somebody's like, well, if I'm getting that extra income, because if they sell it, they're going to have to pay capital gains unless they buy something else
Right.
and do a 1031 exchange.
Yeah.
But I told you about my clients. Sometimes it is worth it, especially in a hot seller's market, to get rid of a multifamily, just pay the capital gains and maybe go put it somewhere else that you want to put it into.
Right. But then if you're over 55, you don't have to pay the capital gains, right?
Ooh, that's a good question, Harry. No, you're not exempt because my client, who's 72, was 70 when she sold her 5-family and she had to pay him.
Oh, really?
Oh, you're not exempt from
because it
capital
was a
gains.
multifamily.
Yes.
That's only in the case of a single family.
That's anybody. I don't think there's an age on that. It's up to, I believe, $250,000 that you don't have to pay taxes on. So if you make up to $250,000 on a house that you lived in for at least, you had to have owned it for 5 years, lived in it for 2.
Uh-huh.
I think there's an exemption for $250,000, but I'm not. But if it was your primary property the whole time, I'm pretty sure there's an exemption up to the $250,000.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, that's important to know because
Mm-hmm.
you can be shocked when you do your taxes.
Right.
Because you don't do them till the following year.
Right, right. No, your primary property, you have a good, I think a good cushion there. It's your investment property, but even if you own a single-family home and as an investment property, you'd have to pay capital gains on that. So,
Yeah.
which you know, in the last few years, that's become popular, is buying single-family homes, fixing them up, and renting them out.
Yeah, they call it flipping.
Right, right. Or no, they'll hold on to it and
Oh.
not. So some people are flipping, but some people will buy it, fix it up, and rent it instead of selling it again.
Oh, okay.
So they keep it in their own portfolio because single-family houses, you know, depending upon where it is and what condition, some people are getting $2,000, $2,500 a month.
Yeah, you're getting almost as much well, you're getting almost
If not-
how much they pay for a mortgage.
If not more, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of those are like temporary. Like there are a lot of people that go in and out of UMass that maybe are on a residency, so they're there a year or two.
Yes.
So they'll pay the rent, especially in a market like this. They're like, why am I going to buy so high if I have to sell in a couple of years? Because who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, and take a chance that you may not get
Right.
your money back.
Right.
Because the market can go up and go down.
Right. Yeah. And some people just aren't ready to buy. That's why they have to rent.
Right.
They may have a low credit score. They may have, you shouldn't buy, in my opinion, you shouldn't buy a house unless you have a little money set aside.
Yeah, because you don't know what's going to happen the minute you buy that house.
I bought my house 6 months after my furnace.
Yeah.
I had to put a new furnace in and replace that.
Yeah, and you're talking, $10,000.
It was like six. It was, yeah. And so I always tell my buyers, keep a cushion, especially as time goes on. If you own a house for 10 or 15 years and your roof or your furnace was 10 years old when you bought it, they're going to go.
Yeah.
I had to replace my hot water heater. That was $1,500. So things break. I always tell people, put some of your income aside for a cushion. So that when something does break, you're not scrambling
Why
and
are we
panicking.
getting into that? It's, what happens with me, we flow into different things.
Yeah.
What about warranties?
A home warranty?
Yeah.
So there's one of my agents in my office that uses them a lot. I'm not as familiar with them. There's fine print.
I
know
know,
what
that's
I
what I'm
mean?
saying. Can you trust them? Insurance companies are in business to make money.
Yeah,
And a warranty company's an insurance company.
for sure.
And
Yes.
they're taking a chance that you're going to pay them every month and you're not going to use them.
Right.
So, I mean, I would imagine that when something goes wrong, your refrigerator breaks and they say, wow, did it break at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday or something
Right.
like that, I had a situation where I had a turkey fly through my picture window,
Oh, wow.
landed next to the sofa and died
Gosh.
because it seen the reflection of trees in the window.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, because e-glass. So I call the insurance company up. Oh, you have to read your policy and see section such and da 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 da. We don't cover wild fowl. I said, what? I get the insurance policy. Sure enough, there it says, not wild fowl, not covered.
Wow.
Specifically says that.
It is very important to look at your insurance policy
Yeah.
and see what it includes and what it doesn't include.
Now, if I had known that, I could have said, oh, hey, the kids were playing ball and the ball went through the window.
Right. Yeah.
And what are you going to say? No,
Or you could have said if it's not common, but it's not uncommon for something like that to happen. There were a lot of birds around here.
Yeah,
Could you have added it to your policy for, I don't know, $10 a year or something?
right, exactly. But they don't tell you that
Right.
then when you find out at the end.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. With these warranties, I always wondered about that.
Yeah.
It's-
Warranties don't cover, I don't think, things like that. I think it's more for
Right,
the
no, don't
mechanics.
things cover appliances,
Yes,
your
and the mechanicals.
mechanical things in the house. But here again, when you do go make a claim, they tell you, oh, there's $1,000 deductible or something.
Yes.
I mean,
And be careful in that because we had lightning strike our house and it was just a few things had the TV went out, the coffee grinder went out, and the motorcycle battery went out. And when I called, she said, listen, you are in one of the best insurance companies. It's really hard to get into. She said, I would not make that claim. It's like
yeah,
it
it wasn't enough money.
wasn't enough. And I said, okay, I'll deal with the coffee grinder and the battery and the TV, and it ended up the manufacturer of the TV replaced the TV.
That happened to me. We were on vacation, and we came back, and the answering machine got hit. A TV in my kid's room was on, so that got hit. It was just small items. I said, oh my God. But then we had no water. We have a well. So I said, what the heck happened? So I didn't think anything of it. I said, well, here's another problem. So I call a well guy, and he comes up, and we start, can't get the, unhook it from inside the well where the connector is.
Yeah.
We dig down, it was melted.
Oh gosh.
Lightning has struck the well and then went into the house
Wow.
through the well. Well, now we're talking a lot of money.
Right,
So that's when I made a claim to the insurance company,
right.
and then, okay, we'll add in the other things. They're not that much, but it all adds up. And,
It totally adds up, yeah.
And they ended up covering it.
Yep,
But if, I didn't even know that had happened.
yeah, wow,
Thank God I had insurance there.
yeah.
But yeah, but I'm saying you do need insurance. But I wonder about warranty insurance. It's like
Ye-
car warranties that you can buy.
Yeah, and they're usually only good for a certain amount of years, I think. And again, the fine print is
Yeah.
going to tell you exactly what's covered, what's not, and perhaps if something is older than a certain age, it wouldn't be covered.
Right.
Again, I don't know enough about those because they're not as common in this area as sometimes like in the South. I think they're very popular in the South. But you just have to make sure you know what you're buying.
Well, like I look at, they're playing the odds that my refrigerator's not going to go, my TV,
Right.
whatever.
Right,
And so why don't I just play the odds as well? If I'm going to pay them $100 a month, maybe I just take the $100 and put it in the bank $1,200 a year, pick up my own interest,
yeah,
and if something goes, I use that.
then you use that money, yeah.
See,
And
that's-
sometimes there's a one-time fee for those warranties too, but they last, I think, just a year.
Yeah. See, yeah, but I think, like you say, read the fine print,
Yeah, for sure,
because you might come up and buy, oh, that's not covered.
right. Just like the bird.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. And my insurance agent said, you should have called me. I said, well, it was the weekend. Fortunately, the glass guy was great. He came out it was a Memorial Day weekend, in fact. He came out because his daughter was playing soccer in town. He was from Worcester, but his daughter was playing soccer. So he came up, boarded up the window.
Oh, good.
And then when he found out the insurance wouldn't pay, he only charged me half as much.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so, and he gets more with the insurance, but they all do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, I made out all right. I got it done, but
Mm.
it was quite a shock. And my insurance agent said, look, if you'd have called me, I would have told you. I'll tell them that somebody they were playing baseball when a
Right,
baseball went
right,
through the
right,
window.
right. Yeah,
Because that would be covered.
right. Baseballs, but no birds.
Right. But, yeah, so it's got to be tough for you, because this is your livelihood. If you don't sell houses, you don't make money.
Right. That
and,
is
and
true.
if the market is tight,
Yes.
if you can't get properties.
Yeah, so you know what? You need to be creative in this business and you need to reach out to what we call your sphere. You
Yep.
know, the best. I'm not a fan of cold calling or anything like that. I'm a fan of networking, getting out there, getting in front of the public, and also keeping in touch with the people that you've already serviced and letting them know that if they know of anybody that needs to buy or
Or if
sell.
they're looking themselves to.
Absolutely. You want to be what I call top of mind
Yeah.
for someone. You know, when someone says, oh, do you know a real estate agent? Then they're going to say, hey, Kris Koliss. So it's working that and, like I said, networking and educating people on what the current market is and educating yourself to be able to do that. So it's a you know, to me, it's a lifestyle,
Yeah.
my job, and it's also educating people and keeping them informed. And I always tell people, you know, we offer a complimentary market analysis. Even if somebody doesn't want to sell, you should know what your asset is worth that you have,
Yes.
right? Just like, you know, if you have an antique, you probably know what it's worth, and you'll either research it or keep up to date on the value of it.
Right.
And I think oftentimes it's important to do that with your home or any property, whether it's your investment property or your primary property. You should know what your assets are
So
worth.
you'll give them an estimate if they call you.
Sure, yeah. We come in, I like to look at the house first, take notes, and then we go back with a report and go through and show them the data, right? Because I don't just pick an arbitrary number and say, here, this is what your house is
Right.
worth, right? I'm going to show the seller the data because I always tell sellers we have to sell a house twice. We have to sell it to a buyer, and then if they're not paying cash, which is a small percentage, I have to have the property appraised out. So I
Yeah.
have to meet the appraiser, and he or she is going to look at me and say, well, if they don't think the value's there, they're gonna say, well, where'd you get this value? So,
Exactly, yeah, and that's important because that's what the bank's gonna decide what they're gonna give you.
correct, yeah, exactly, that, the bank is sending out that appraiser, you
Right.
know, and so I wanna be able to back that up, and I'm the type that I'm gonna sit down with a seller and be truthful. It might not be what they wanna hear, but I don't wanna put myself in a place
Right,
where I can't do what I said for the seller, you know?
what about a home inspector, do they require that too?
So home inspectors, if you're buying a house, you should 1,000% have a home inspection.
Yeah, the buyer should do that,
Regardless, it
Yeah.
is out of pocket,
Yeah.
expense, but here's the thing, I'd rather have, wouldn't you rather pay $450, $500 for something than, you know, 6 months down the road, you find out your sills are all rotted, which is
Yeah.
now it's gonna cost you thousands of dollars?
right, or there's a problem with the roof.
Or the roof is leaking, right, so, a home inspection is,
Well, even they find other things, they look at the furnace.
oh,
they-
everything, yeah, those are just two examples, but,
Yeah,
and you want a licensed home inspector.
right,
And any realtor should have a list of home inspectors that they can suggest to their buyer.
right,
Not necessarily saying, you know, endorsing them, but they're people that they've used in the past.
yeah, you don't have one particular one, you give them a list and
Correct.
they can choose from.
Correct, just like an attorney, we're giving a list,
Yeah,
of a few attorney names, that we've worked with.
yeah,
when
because
they
buying
wanna
a
choose.
home is quite a project.
It is, and when I have a buyer, even if they're not a first-time home buyer, I like them to come in the office. We sit down for a half hour, I give them a folder of information, and I go through, a sheet, and there's steps through the whole process. And I tell them, I'm not expecting you to memorize it, I just want you to familiarize yourself with it. So that during the process, if I mention something, then they can say, oh, that's right. And it's not, you know, totally new and foreign to them because they've never heard it before.
Right, yeah, because there is quite, you're not just, it's not like going to Walmart and making a purchase.
Right, you're not buying, I need a 7.5 in that sneaker,
Right.
and that's it.
I mean, it's quite a process. Like you say, you want to have a home inspection. You got to line up a bank. Do you recommend a bank for them?
Sure,
or-
and I have a list of mortgage lenders that I
Yeah,
will,
Well, now the big fact thing now is mortgage brokers.
yes, yep.
So-
Whether it's a local bank, a mortgage broker, you know, people are like, well, I want to shop the rate. At the end of the day, you want to make sure it's somebody who's going to finish the deal. They're going to
Yes.
guide you through it, from the beginning to the end, and that's what we do as realtors. You know, and all my agents in my company, I'm proud to say, you know, when you sign that offer or that listing agreement, we don't say, hey, we'll see you in 6 weeks. We're there every step of the way, from the beginning to the end, and that's what any good realtor should be doing. And people should be interviewing realtors too, if they don't, you know, if they don't have one that they've used in the past.
Right.
It's important to know
And
what they're doing
You're
for
working
you.
with both the buyer and the seller.
Yeah, we work with buyers and sellers, right?
Yeah,
And I always tell buyers, have a consultation.
Yeah,
Your realtor shouldn't be meeting you for the first time at the house.
right. But I'm saying through the process, you're representing both sides.
Sometimes, but not always. Most of the time, it's out of the office. So, say we would be working with somebody from ABC Realty, you know, in Worcester. It's rare that it's both, but it does happen. But you have to make sure you're
Well,
doing the proper
if you're
disclosures.
doing the listing,
Mhm.
and you get a purchase when it comes to your office for that particular listing, you'd be working with both, right?
That depends. So if I don't have a prior relationship with that buyer, I need to stay. My fiduciary responsibility needs to be with my seller.
Okay.
But 85% of buyers out there are working with agents.
Yeah,
So it's rare that you're going to have somebody. Not rare, but it's not as likely as that you'll have somebody just call you and say, "Hey, I want to see that."
oh, really?
house."
So they don't, when they go by and they see the sign and they call a number?
No, if they have a realtor, they should be calling their realtor, who should be setting up the appointment, because that realtor should be working
So what
with
you
that buyer.
recommend, I haven't bought a house in 40 years, so what you recommend is that if someone's interested in getting into a house, buying a house, they should contact a realtor
Yes,
and then work with the realtor, because the realtor also will help them find the right house.
correct.
Yeah, one that meets their income, one that meets their desires.
Right.
location, all that different
Right.
stuff.
So when I sit down with a buyer, a lot of times they're already pre-approved, so that we can go online and see kind of, okay, what's in your price range.
Right. Not like buying a car. You drive down the street and you see a car on a lot and you say, "Oh, I want to buy that car."
Right.
It's not the same. You don't want to ride around Grafton or Northbridge and say, "Oh, I want to get that house."
Right.
You want to get a realtor.
You should
and
have
say,
a realtor working
I'm,
for you
I'm
and
looking
helping
for a
you.
house in Northbridge, or I'm looking for a house in Grafton. I'm looking for a house in the area. What do you have? Here's my, and then you'll sit down with them and do an income analysis.
The mortgage person will do the income analysis, because I can't quote mortgages. But then once they know.
So you line them up with a mortgage.
Yep, so I give them a list, but so say they come in and they have a pre-approval for 300,000.
Ah,
So then I say, okay, what towns are you interested in?
I see.
And then they'll give me, I always tell them, tell me what you definitely need and tell me a couple of things that you would love to have. And then what I do is we go in those towns and see if it's realistic.
Oh, okay, well, you just pointed something, I just caught something else here. So the right way to do it is to get a pre-approval.
I would definitely get a
Now you know
pre-approval first.
what your market is.
Right, because what if you go looking at houses for 300,000 and then you realize you can only afford 270?
Yeah, the mortgage company's only gonna give you 270.
Right,
That's how much we're gonna lag.
right,
Also, if you're going in pre-approved, now you have that little extra bargaining chip with the seller,
right.
cause hey, I'm pre-approved, here, I got it right here, this is,
Yeah.
this.
You
I
can
got this
call the
cash.
realtor first, and they should, as their job, be directing you towards, if they already don't have
Yeah.
a bank or a lender, giving you suggestions on who to call.
Yeah, so that way there, you're not going in and negotiating on the house and find out you can't get the mortgage.
Right, and we don't take people out unless they have a pre-approval. It's not worth their time, and it's not
Yeah.
worth our time.
Yeah, and your time is just
You know,
valuable. I mean,
and I always tell people, A, you don't want to get your hopes up. You don't want to be going looking at houses that it's not going to happen. And
Right.
B, you don't want to be selling yourself short either. Maybe you can afford an extra 10 or 20,000. Because depending upon the price range, and spending an extra 10 or $20,000, depending upon the town, can be a huge game changer for
Oh,
people.
yeah. Yeah, and you might hit something that, a great buy out there.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I mean, $10,000 or $20,000 in Southborough is probably not a big difference,
No.
but you know what I mean.
Right.
So it's always good to definitely have a pre-approval so that you know what you can afford.
Yeah, what are most of your clients? Are they people moving up or first-time buyers?
So there are, my particular clients are, I've had move-ups, first-time home buyers, investors. So last year I was probably about 60% listings and 40% buyers.
Oh.
So different reasons people are relocating,
Yeah.
things like that. I do have a first-time home buyer now who would love a two-family. So again, it's just looking hard and trying to help her find something that she can afford and that she likes.
I know in some cases now, you're talking about relocations. There are companies that will buy the house. So
I just had that last year.
Yeah, so the person can
Mm-hmm.
relocate, knowing that the house is sold.
Yes,
They get their money, and because they want to buy another house where they're going.
right. I had somebody, they were relocating to Texas. So I listed the house, but everything went through the relocation company. The relocation company signed the documents and everything like that. So you still definitely want to work with a realtor when you're relocating, because it's a big, never mind, you want to be timing everything correctly, but, probably timing is of the essence as well. If you're moving jobs, it's probably not in 6 months. It's going to be a lot quicker, so.
Yeah, I mean, they want you there.
Mm-hmm.
But in that case now, that house may stay vacant for a little while they're waiting for a buyer, right?
Yeah, in this particular situation, he went down to Texas, and then she stayed up here, so the house was never vacant.
Oh, okay.
They moved around the same time it closed.
Oh, okay. So they let
But
them
that can happen.
Yeah.
It can be vacant.
Yeah, especially if the market, if it turns out to be a buyer's market.
Yes,
And, and that market goes back and forth all the time.
yes, yeah.
It wasn't that wasn't that long ago that it was a buyer's market, that
Mhm.
people were trying to sell and no one was buying.
Yep, yep. And that quickly changed.
Yeah,
And
it's
yep.
just, it's a tough market, it really is.
Yep, that's why you really have to have somebody, advocating for you and working for you and answering your questions and being available in terms of communicating and, not going silent for a while.
And, people say, I have to watch the clock. People keep saying that you won't never lose money in real estate, but that's not true. And I think in the 90s, we ran into that situation. Remember where the banks were foreclosing and the banks were going out of business.
Mm-hmm.
We had a major bank right here in Milford that went out of business.
Mm-hmm.
And people had properties and the FDIC came in and foreclosed on them.
Yeah. Well, that was happening, all the subprime lending.
Yeah, the subprime situation.
So back in 2013, there were
Yeah,
a lot of changes.
Yeah, that was another situation.
Well, no, that's when they tightened everything and they made the new
But
TRID rules.
you could
and
have
everything.
lost money on a home. You could have
Sure.
overpaid on it, right?
I sold foreclosures from 2007 to 2015, and I probably sold over 300 foreclosures. And
Wow.
it was, a lot of people were, the majority of people were upside down. A lot of them, unfortunately, were job losses, divorce situations,
Yeah.
and things like that. But the market really took a turn
They
for
could have
like
paid
7, 8, 9, and 10.
400,000. Now we're getting 300,000.
Yeah, some towns went down 20, 30, 40%.
That's a
depending
lot
upon
of
the
money.
area.
When you're talking the hundreds of thousands.
Mhm.
20, 30% is a lot of money.
It is.
Whoa.
So, when you have that loss and then you lose a job, what do you do? So
Yeah.
it was that was definitely a tough time. And they say though that what happened as well is the market crashed because there were so many houses. The inventory was a lot higher than it is
Yeah.
now. So that's why people are reluctant to say there'll be a market crash, because inventory is so low.
Yes.
You can't have a crash unless you have
Even
an
though they're
oversupply.
building, there's a lot of building going on. It's still low inventory.
Yes. Well, because like you said, nobody's building the first-time homebuyer house. It's just
Right.
not. It's too expensive.
Yeah,
And
but
these.
could there be a crash in that market in the higher price?
That's a good question. I think the good builders are savvy enough to do their homework and wherever they're building,
Yeah.
and make sure there's some sort of demand.
Yeah.
So
things can change. Sometimes they change pretty quick.
they could, absolutely. Like I said, especially during an election year. And because it's a presidential election year and it's pretty polarized, who knows what's going to happen
But the
afterwards.
subprime situation was brought on by the government.
The banks.
Yeah.
Yes, so they were doing.
The government was asking the banks to give loans to people that should have never got loans.
They did what was called like a no income verification.
Yeah,
So they wouldn't verify somebody's income, but they'll give them a loan.
I know. I mean,
Yeah, it was crazy.
Oh,
Yes,
oh my God! I mean, you'd never seen that in the past.
right.
You-
And now it's, that's why this is another good tip for buyers. When you get your pre-approval letter, you need to keep what I call your financial profile the same. You cannot go open a new credit card. Don't go buy a new car. Just keep paying your bills on time, because the week that you're going to close on your house,
all that's going to come out.
your lender will verify your employment and they will check your credit again
Yeah.
to make sure you haven't racked up a lot of debt.
Yeah,
And
that's
even
all
if
gonna
you're
come
a
out.
little late on one thing, a lot of times you have to write a letter. So once you are issued a pre-approval, you need to keep your financial profile the same, if not better, and just keep paying your bills
Yeah.
on time. And don't open any new cards.
Yeah, and banks are looking a lot closer at credit now than they ever did.
For sure. Yes, they are. Yes, and underwriting, they are going through those files with a fine-tooth comb because of what happened in the past. And they were scrutinized, some of them. So
And the thing is, if you got a good rating, you're going to have them begging for you.
credit, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there are a couple of factors. There's good credit, then you have to have a good income, and your debt-to-income ratio has to be at a certain
Right,
level.
and if you got good ratios all around,
Yes,
it's not gonna be hard getting the credit, they're gonna be looking for you.
right.
Oh,
Right.
yeah,
And you should be able to get a good rate
yes.
because of that.
Yeah, 'cause they're in the business to make money.
Right,
They wanna sell credit.
right.
So, yeah, this has been good.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
It's been very interesting. I hope I hope things keep going like they are. The Valley is doing phenomenal.
Yes, yep, the economy, that's another reason why it's
Yeah.
the market.
People are
Prices
working.
are right. Yep, unemployment's at its lowest, the stock market is at its highest, and inventory, I think I said before we started, in 2019,
Yeah,
it was almost 20% lower, December 2019, than December of 2018.
that's unbelievable.
Yeah,
But,
so-
Paramount Realty, you have a website?
I do. It's ParamountRealtyHomes.com, and you can also reach me at 508-320-3853, and we're at 212 Worcester Street, right in Grafton on Route 122.
And while
And you
we
can
got a
always
minute,
stop by and see us.
Chris has ties to Northbridge.
Yes, my father grew up in Northbridge,
Yeah,
and both my grandparents.
yeah. See,
Yes.
so she's back in Northbridge.
I
but-
am. Thank you for inviting me. It was great.
Yeah,
Really,
it was-
really great to share information. And like I said, people just should be educating themselves if they want to buy or sell, for sure. It's the
Yeah, I
most
mean,
important thing.
If you're gonna buy, get a realtor. I think get
Yes.
the right route. Get a realtor, and then
Have a
get-
consultation
have a
to go through the whole
consultation. They'll get-
process.
They'll find you a mortgage company or a bank, get yourself pre-qualified,
Yes,
and now you know what you can do, what you got available, and they'll help you find the right property in the right area.
yes,
And the realtors, you know about the school systems, you know about the services in the towns and
yes,
everything else, so you're not going in blind, you're gonna know, you can find these things out ahead of time.
correct. Yes. And people can find school system info all over the internet,
Right,
as well as the different services in town.
yeah, 'cause that's probably one of the most important things, what, do you find that's one of the most important things that people look at?
People, yes, for sure. Certain, the younger, like I have a single girl right now. She has no kids, so it's not as important to her. But 1,000%, parents are always looking for
Yeah.
good school systems and bus. They want to know the bus routes and all that.
Right, but even a single girl, she probably figured one day I'm gonna have a family.
Yeah.
May not wanna leave here.
The average first-time home buyer holds their house from 5 to 7 years. Those are the
that's all.
statistics.
I haven't moved in 40 years, but I hate to do it. That's a pain in the neck.
It is, but that's just the national average,
Yeah.
they say, for first-time home
Well,
buyers.
people move around for jobs today.
Yes, you have to go where the jobs are.
Yeah, and they don't. I mean, I worked for the same company for 30 years. They don't do that anymore.
No,
Especially with 401s, you can go anywhere because you take your retirement with
you
you.
roll it over. We were
Yeah.
just talking about that yesterday. Yes, you can do that.
Yeah, so people are tending to move around,
Yes, yeah,
and they're more independent. Well,
yes.
okay, I just screwed up the time now. We gotta go.
Okay.
Thank you for coming in,
Hey,
Chris.
thank you. Thank you so much, Harry.
Yeah.
And like I said, just educate yourself if you're buying or selling out there, for
Right.
sure.
Next week, my guest is going to be Rebecca Sawsville, the town librarian. We're going to talk about what libraries are doing today. It's not the library of your grandparents. We'll see you next week.